Unfortunately, most leaders and most organizations are falling short. Recent research confirms that over 90% of U.S. workers are looking for more meaning in their work. We are at a historical low of 31% of the workforce is actually engaged. We are clearly missing the mark. I spent my entire professional career focused on becoming a more effective leader. And in that time, I've worked with and studied and researched hundreds of companies. And this is one thing that I can tell you for sure. Culture is the most important factor for companies that want to have high performance for a sustained period of time. My name is Joey Havens, author of Leading with Significance, and today I want to show you why, quote, good culture is not good enough. And I want to share with you the 5 traits that high-performing companies have, that they all share, so that you can put those traits to work for your organization. So let's look at the workplace today. What does workplace culture look like today? Because we are facing an epidemic of loneliness, lack of purpose and meaning, burnout. Research is showing us that people everywhere are looking for more meaning in their work. Less than 20% receive appreciation on a weekly basis. Only 31% of the workforce is actually engaged, and only 18% are very satisfied in their work. Over 50% of the workforce is looking for something else. We have an epidemic of loneliness, lack of purpose, and burnout. You know, I think the biggest trap today's epidemic of loneliness, lack of purpose, and burnout is what we call, quote, good culture. And we call it good culture because leaders and organizations want to have good culture. They want to have great culture. And so when you ask them about their culture, they evaluate it based on their intentions. Very rarely is it based on the feedback from the experiences of their team members. The team member experience usually tells a much different story, a story where there's not a lot of trust in management, a story where leaders and organizations are inconsistent in what they have on the banner and what their words and actions might say. Their turnover tells a different story. Their star talent leaving tells a different story. Those job openings tell a different story. As we experience that turnover, have you ever heard a leader say, hey, they weren't a good fit? Hey, we can find somebody else that can do that job better. We should have never hired that person. It's those kind of thoughts and rationalizations, rather than looking deep at what team members are experiencing, that leaves us in that trap of good culture. Because again, we're thinking about culture in the terms of our intentions, not what it might really be. And then we throw in all of the perks, like bring your pet to work, or happy hour, or free lunches, a casual day, or limited flexibility. All of these things are not bad per se, but they are happiness that's very fleeting. They don't deal with the epidemic of lack of meaning in work, lack of purpose, and they don't deal with the actual burnout. But again, it's part of the trap because we think these band-aids, and that's what they are. These perks, these band-aids are fixing the problem of loneliness, of lack of purpose. When I think about culture, I think about Mark Twain because he has one of my favorite sayings. It's not what we don't know that gets us in trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so. And the trap today in workplace culture is our leaders and organizations are evaluating their culture based on their intentions and not on the actual results. We believe it, but it just ain't so. Think about it like this. Good culture is simply not good enough. Just look at the results, the turnover, the gaps in leadership. They're all evident, even in what we call good cultures. Retention suffers. Recruiting is a challenge. Did you know that a team member is just as likely, it's just as probable that a team member will leave a, quote, good leader as they will a toxic leader if they don't have a personal connection? And so often in what we call good culture, leadership has not made the investment in having those personal connections. And again, that's why good culture is simply not good enough. People do not have that strong sense of belonging where they are able to reach their full potential. You look at your diversity and inclusion and your ability to attract a wide range of talent. You're only able to do that to the extent your culture is strong enough to support the unique individuals and their unique needs. Good culture is simply not good enough. Good culture will not get you to the mountaintop of high performance. I've actually interviewed thousands of professionals and asked them to rate your culture on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being magnetic, and 8 and 9 being great, and 5, 6, and 7 being good. Over 80% of those professionals rated their culture as good or better. And yet, those same professionals would express the inconsistency. That's what good culture has, is inconsistency in experiences. Even though they rated it good, they would be the first to tell you that they had problems in that good culture. So I use the term good culture because that's what they call their culture, but in many ways it's average culture, and average is not good enough in anything that we do. Average is where the best of the worst meets the worst of the best, and that's what good culture is. It's just average. And I've seen this good culture, this average culture, over and over again in companies lead to mediocrity, accelerating turnover, poor client service. But when I look at those high-performing companies, when I look at what we did in our company and experience that when we moved from a good culture to a great culture to a magnetic culture, our performance soared. Our growth was exponential. Our profitability soared. The opportunities for our people soared. And our firm, as well as the other companies that I've worked with and researched, have these 5 common traits that separate them from average, that separate them from, quote, good culture. So let's explore these 5 traits together so that you can begin to create these traits in your organization. The first trait that I'd like to talk about in high-performing companies is they have the top priority of their people. I call it a people-first culture. But when you say people-first culture, so many people misunderstand where that's coming from. They immediately begin to think about being soft, about loss of control, like we control people. That's one of the first things that people think about is that loss of control. And they think about the perks. Oh, we need more perks. We need more bean bags. We need more little putting surfaces. We need more ping pong tables. We need more dress-up days, happy days. But again, those perks are Band-Aids. That's not what drives high performance. What people first really means and what it's really about is creating a culture where people can thrive, where they can soar, where they can achieve their dreams both in their career and in their life. It's where you move your mindset from we want to get the most out of everybody, we want to get the most out of this individual, to how do we create an environment where this person can reach their full potential? How can we create an environment where they can soar? How can we remove obstacles? It's a culture where every voice counts because people feel respected and appreciated, and they're recognized for their contributions, and they're recognized for the strengths that they bring as a unique individual to the team. In a people-first culture, you'll find leadership helping align individual goals with team goals, with organizational goals. You'll see people have influence on when, where, and how they work, how they can be the best of who they are and what they bring to the team. People-first culture is built around a strong sense of belonging. When you have that strong sense of belonging, it increases trust within the team. All of this leads to individuals being able to reach for their full potential, teams reaching their full potential, and it all leads to the organization reaching its full potential. When people know that you care, when they know leadership cares, then they care. And what happens is customers and clients, those experiences go up. You have more raving cheerleaders. The second trait that's really key to high-performing companies is a sense of purpose, a sense of mission. Something that's beyond being the biggest or the best, but something that's about building something bigger than yourself or giving to a cause that's bigger than yourself. The power of having purpose is one of your top priorities, and a trait of a high-performing company is it gets you out of the rat race. You feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, starting on Monday and running to that Friday or whatever your schedule might be. But purpose goes beyond that workday where you know that you're building something bigger than yourself. People and purpose as your top 2 priorities will begin to get you on the right track. It will lead to high performance. But if you want to accelerate that, we need to really think about and understand what trait 3 is, which is servant leadership. So let's begin talking about servant leadership. The fact that, again, many people misunderstand this term. It's not about not having accountability, not about making hard decisions. It's not about giving up control of the things that you think are so important. Servant leadership is understanding as you move up in leadership. It's more about those that report to you. It's more about the team members that you lead. How can you accelerate their careers? And as you move up into leadership, you go from gathering medals to your job is to give those medals away. It's to put people in position to succeed and getting out of the way, not micromanaging, allowing them to make some mistakes so they can grow. Servant leadership is not thinking less of yourself, but it is about thinking more about people and what they need to succeed. Servant leadership is focused on, having as a priority to remove obstacles from people, to gather feedback, understand the feedback to be a more effective leader, but also to understand what people need to bring their unique strengths to the team. One aspect of servant leadership that I think is extremely important is protecting your team, protecting people. And that comes from a couple of different areas. One is toxic leaders or toxic team members. Servant leadership will call that out. Servant leadership will protect people and be intentional about the culture that you're growing or what kind of behaviors you're allowing. And also, it comes to the customer relationships. If you have customers that are abusing your people, that are disrespectful to your team members, a servant leader is going to protect that team. People are going to be the top priority. As I think about servant leaders and some of the traits they have is they tend to be very open and vulnerable. They own their mistakes. They share those mistakes very transparently. They exhibit transparency in how they communicate. Servant leaders are strong leaders, but they get that strength because they do put other people first. They do pave the way for others to find their full potential. Servant leaders are connected to their team and they provide the benefit of good intentions. In other words, they seek to understand before they judge the actions of others. And they build trust because they trust first. They realize that they have to be vulnerable and trust so that team members will trust each other. And also, team members need that trust so that they can grow into their full potential. They've got to make mistakes to reach their full potential. And servant leadership is about creating that environment where team members are safe, feel safe enough to really reach for it, to take the risks that help them reach their full potential. The fourth trait is more of a macro trait in that I like to use the term one team, one direction. Because in this trait, leadership in the team works very hard to align individual goals, team goals with the organizational goals so that you have true alignment in the efforts that go forward. And when you have that kind of alignment, when you have one team, one direction from an overall standpoint, it creates exponential results. So one team, one direction really comes about as leadership continually communicates, this is our primary purpose, this is our primary mission. To get that buy-in, to have that one team, one direction, there's a lot of communication about why. Why are we making these decisions? Why is this our direction? Why is this the right direction? Why does this benefit me? And the other big thing that's communicated in one team, one direction is that we is greater than me. As we said in our firm, our foundation of our culture was we in service, and we were trying to move away from a foundation that was based on me and self-interest. So if you think about it in those terms, one team, one direction, you begin that decision-making process thinking about, okay, what's best for our company as a whole? And then you come down to what's best for our team, and then you come down to what's best for me. One team, one direction. A very powerful concept that's reinforced by leadership that communicates in the right way, the right priorities. When you boil it down, high-performing companies get great alignment between organizational goals, team goals, and individual goals, and that compounds the results. The last trait and the fifth trait that I want to talk about is a culture of trust. And trust determines how fast we can go. Trust determines really how high you can take performance, because a high-performing company is going to have a strong sense of belonging. When people have a strong sense of belonging, you're going to be creating a culture of trust. Now, when I talk about trust, we have to understand that we can't make people trust us. You can't make someone trust you. You can be trustworthy, but you can't make them trust you. See, they have to be vulnerable. They have to put themselves at risk to trust you. So it's a conscious decision when people trust you. And so when I talk about the power of trust in high-performing companies, it is when people are vulnerable. And that starts with leadership. When you find a high-performing company, you're going to find leaders that trust first. They're vulnerable first. Even when people make mistakes, they give them the benefit of good intentions and continue to provide them the opportunity to thrive. The other thing that builds trust in these high-performing companies is that leadership takes the time and they're intentional to connect. You're more likely to trust somebody that you know is being authentic with you, that's being transparent. Transparency is a key to culture. And in that, it's about these companies share the good news and the bad news. If there's some hesitation about should we share this, they share it. They share everything that's important to be shared. Under this umbrella of transparency is accountability and clarity and expectation. There's clarity and expectations of what success looks like. And part of that transparency is just candor in the communications, having difficult conversations, not avoiding conflict, but doing it in respectful ways, and doing it in ways where you have a curiosity to seek to understand. Back to our benefit of good intentions. That leads to more trust. Not assuming the worst, not assuming that someone did something on purpose, but seeking to understand and gaining knowledge that you might not have. Not only does trust first, when leaders trust first, organically grows trust. Think about it. When someone trusts you, what do? You naturally lean in. You want to be worthy of that trust. And you also kind of raise the bar as far as you're more likely to trust them. So it organically grows trust. But on top of that, when we trust people to carry out their assignment, when we provide the communication and we have clarity around what the task is, what we need done, when it needs to be done, when there's clarity there and then we step back and don't micromanage, that grows trust. People realize you're trusting them to deliver. And they're more likely to deliver if you're not looking over their shoulder every moment. All of these are trust builders. They're common traits that you're going to find in high-performing companies. As you build trust in a team, it creates a stronger sense of belonging. It allows the team to move fast. And one of my favorite sayings is learn fast, learn forward, learn together. But as we close out this last trait, remember this: it takes leadership, connecting and being vulnerable. It takes leadership trusting first to really have a culture of trust. Thanks so much for watching the video. I would encourage you, please hit the like button if you found something that you can take back to your organization. If you want to have more magnetic insights around workplace culture, around leadership, please hit the subscribe button. And listen, please leave your comments. Good, bad, indifferent. This channel is about learning together. We want to learn together. I promise you, I'm going to read every comment. I'm going to respond to you. And when you leave your wisdom, when you leave your experience, when you leave your questions, you provide us a better learning platform, and one where we can all learn together. Those are my 5 traits of high-performing companies. I hope that you've learned something in those 5 traits that you can begin to create in your company. Remember that first trait was a people-first culture, and if you'd like to know more about how to create that people-first culture, I would encourage you to click on the thumbnail on this video, because I just made a video about how you create people-first culture. So thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you soon.